In theory, the YouTube is on. In practice, however, it's not. It is. There we are. We're live now. Okay, so I'll get this back over here where it belongs, or where I need it anyway. That's a good shot.
Yeah, I just keep it there.
Oh, okay. All right. We are starting early because no one is expecting... Oops, your microphone is off. No one is expecting us now anyway. So, we can start.
Okay.
I'll turn your mic off for a moment while I do the musicale. Hit it. From the studio in the bonus room above the garage on the north side of Cary. That's my disc jockey roots showing up there. This is the Triangle Talk Show. And we are episode 28. We're going to talk about the weather. You know, everybody talks about the weather. Nobody does anything about it. We're going to talk about it. We are not going to do anything about it. September 11th, 2018, that's an auspicious day. We're also not going to be talking about that day. Maybe we will a little, I don't know, but not much. And the title of the program is Hurricane Virgin. Not as in the name of the hurricane. The hurricane is not Hurricane Virgin. We get up to the V's, that would be an interesting hurricane name. I don't think that they would do that. Also, not the concept of sacrificing a virgin to a hurricane in hopes that it kind of spares you. That's not the title. That's not the topic of the program. It's also maybe not such a bad idea. You're on the show. You're not reacting yet at all.
I'm just waiting for you to get to the point.
Yeah, no, get it over with. Get to the point. Now the concept is that there's a lot of folks that have moved to this area since the last time there was a hurricane, and they're going, "What's going to happen?
Yeah,
are we doomed? Is my house going to blow down?" We're not hurricane experts. We have been through a few hurricanes, and we can talk on the...
Slept through a hurricane.
Yeah, we did. We can talk on the here's what we went through level. So that we, by the way, starts with me, Gary Pierce, and my lovely wife, Cindy Pierce, a North Carolina native.
Yeah.
Whereas I am a GD Yankee.
So I heard.
So it has been told.
Yes.
We talked about this, but you haven't had a chance to respond.
You're a Midwesterner. That's what I always say. You're a Midwesterner.
Even your friend Julia thinks that you are just kind of fooling yourself.
No, you're a Midwesterner.
Not a Yankee.
No. Chicago is not a Yankee.
You heard it, folks. And once again, let me point out that she is a North Carolina native. I am not a Yankee. Okay, to the topic at hand. Again, we're not experts at hurricanes. Go watch Greg Fischel or the guys on Channel 11 Big Weather and Channel 17 to get the expert view. What we've got is just the experience of having been through a few. I moved to North Carolina in 1990. My first direct experience was Hurricane Fran, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I want to look at some hurricanes through the history of, well, maybe our lifetimes. You were born in 1959.
Right.
In Winston-Salem. So you've been around. The first hurricane that you could possibly have encountered, well, you did, was Hurricane Hazel.
No, that was 1954.
Oh, that's before 1959, isn't it?
Yeah. Nice try, though.
We have determined that my math skills are lacking. Mm-hmm. That was within my lifetime.
Yes.
I was 4, but I was in Detroit at the time. Mm-hmm. Hurricane Hazel, well, it got that far north, but it was in Pennsylvania and western New York State at that point. Didn't quite get over to Detroit. And at age 4, I'm not going to have remembered anyway. So never mind about Hazel.
But that's the first one everybody speaks of in North Carolina as being the original bad storm. Would it end up being a Cat 5 when it hit the coast or Cat 4?
Back and see if this tells me. Category 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a Category 4 out floating east of...
the coast there.
East of Florida. Mm-hmm. And then it actually entered the mainland in apparently South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then came up just west of Wilmington, and looks like it went pretty close to Raleigh.
Raleigh, yeah.
And at that point, well, it was a good solid Category 1, stayed at Category 1 all the way up into Pennsylvania before it died out.
That's pretty amazing, because especially going over all that terrain and mountains and just in general going over land, it kind of takes the
oomph out of the hurricane.
Oomph out of it. Yeah, but
it's hard to maintain because it's got no water to.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Hope we don't see that here.
They're not predicting that here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one you were alive for, Hurricane Hugo.
Yeah, but I was up here in Raleigh by that time, but my parents were in Charlotte, and I think they were without power for at least a week.
Hugo entered across the coastline in the middle of South Carolina and headed northwest toward the Charlotte area. It had been around through West Virginia and the very eastern end of Ohio. It is a tropical storm at that point. And then on up to the north is a tropical storm. And Hurricane Hugo was the first hurricane that I, a Midwesterner, experienced in the least little bit. I was in Knoxville, Tennessee at the time.
Oh, yeah, you would have.
Yeah.
Right on the eastern edge of Tennessee.
Yeah, and we saw hurricane band type clouds, and we got some rain, and it got a little windy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nothing to speak of. But, of course, everybody was watching the news, and everyone said, because it had to cross the Smokies to get to Tennessee, that was going to break it up a lot.
Yeah.
And looking at the map, by the time it got to western North Carolina, it was a tropical storm. It stayed that way. But that can run from 39 to 73 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, there was no 73 mile per hour wind going on in Knoxville.
Yeah, I think it was close to that in Charlotte.
Yeah, so you were up here in Raleigh at that point.
Yeah.
In constant telephonic communication with your phone. Phones didn't go out, apparently.
Not that I remember. I just remember that the electricity went out in their area. Yeah.
All right.
That's about it.
Folks remember. By the way, I had asked on Reddit if anybody out there, I did it early this morning, if anybody out there had some experience and would like to join us on the major podcast. Reddit, you're letting me down. A bunch of people said, you upvoted the post. Nobody responded. Nobody even said a word.
They're all at work. They should all be at work.
And your point?
Just saying that may be why they didn't respond. They have jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of spending all day at their jobs on Facebook, on Reddit, they spend it on Facebook instead.
Could be, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, We'll see. Often when I make a request on Facebook same day, I'll get people a couple days later to say, hey, I didn't see this till today.
Right.
So too bad. I got new glasses.
Yes, you do.
The folks in the audio podcast aren't looking at these, but I've had glasses that are the very lightweight, silvery, gold frames or frameless.
Frameless.
And now they're not big, thick Coke bottle, but they're they're black and thicker frames. They're allegedly supposed to make me look more intelligent.
How many points of intelligence did you get with those? Guaranteed 2-point increase.
That was not not an advertising statistic.
Okay.
I got them from Warby Parker. Mm-hmm. So this episode of the Triangle Talk Show is brought to you by Warby Parker. A couple of years ago, they sponsored about every podcast there was. They haven't been on the podcast circuit in a while that I've heard. However, now every web page that I look at has a Warby Parker ad. It's one of those things where I've bought something. I did some research and then I bought them, and the research triggered the ads, and they don't know I bought them. I'm not in the market anymore. You're wasting your money on me. Your Google ad buy dollars. So,
Hugo.
Yeah. So do I look more intelligent?
Yes.
I actually don't like them very much so far.
Yeah, you were saying the progressive piece isn't working.
No, the progressive piece, the glass is fine. It didn't do what I wanted to do. This is a stronger prescription, and I wasn't able to read street signs down the road as well as I wanted to, because my previous prescription was like 6 years old. I was slack. I actually got a new prescription in between and never got them filled except for contacts. So this is a little stronger, and I was kind of hoping, now I'm going to read those street signs like you can with your X-ray laser vision.
Yeah.
And
not so much anymore.
Yeah.
But still better than you.
Yeah. You can see the street signs
100
feet farther than I can. And still can't. So, no, it's the frames that things have been hot and humid out there and get a little sweaty. And as soon as they get a little sweaty, they start sliding down my nose. Actually, if I wear headphones all the time, it's going to hold them in place.
Well, I was going to say, can't you warm up the end of it and bend it to get a better hook over your ear? You should be able to do that.
I've been wearing glasses since I was 10. I got most of the techniques down.
Okay.
But when you do that, then it hurts the back of your ear because it's hanging on too hard. I'll give that a try. I might try. I've never tried nose pads underneath glasses. I might give that a try. I've been wearing glasses since I was 10. I should have this figured out by now. Apparently I don't. Who's next? Well, there we go. There we go with Fran.
Yeah. Oh, that took kind of the same track as
yes, you go. Yeah, just slightly to the east.
Yeah.
Well, slightly like 100 miles, but in hurricane territory, that's pretty small.
Yes, that hit us as a Category 1 here in Raleigh.
Close to. Well, it was transitioning.
It was transitioning. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the one we slept through. Tell a story.
We had been down to the emergency management center, whatever it is.
We did that ham radio thing.
Yeah.
Emergency Operations Center.
Emergency Operations Center for that evening. And I think we got home somewhere around 9, 10 o'clock. And I remember thinking, after listening to everybody there, that it wasn't going to be as bad as we might think. And I remember that the lights went out. This is right before we went to bed. And we sat in the on the edge of that tub, that garden tub with a big glass window looking out the backyard. And we were watching trees just go.
We had woods behind the house.
Big oak trees, very tall old trees just bending, almost touching the ground. I'm thinking,
wow, I didn't know the trees were that flexible.
I didn't either. Turns out They're really aren't. Yeah. So
we went to sleep.
We went to sleep, and we slept the entire night without waking up.
The alarm couldn't go off because it didn't have any power.
And we woke up to my mother calling at about 7 o'clock in the morning.
So once again, the phones were working, landline phones.
Yes.
Cell phones were not a thing back then. They existed, but...
Did we lose power at that point? Did we have power that morning?
No, we lost power overnight.
Okay.
Power was gone about the time we went to bed, maybe about 11 midnight, somewhere there.
Yeah, because I don't really remember it being out very long, not even a day.
It was out about a day.
Okay.
For us,
yeah. Others, it was, some were up to 2 weeks.
Yep.
So, yeah, Mom calls and she's like, oh, are you all okay? And I'm just like, yeah, we're fine. And then I remember getting up and
because we hadn't gotten out of bed yet.
No, we weren't.
Hadn't looked out the window.
I know. I answered the phone while I was still in bed, and then I got up because she's like, "Oh, we heard it so bad," and I'm like, "Well, you know," and then I go into the bathroom, look out that window in the back, and just couldn't believe what I saw.
Yeah. As a continuous stand of trees behind us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a woods that went, back quarter mile, half mile or so. Mm-hmm. And the tall stands of trees. And not all of them were gone, but many of them had either cracked in the middle or fallen over.
Cracked in the middle. I remember they all just fell over their big roots system, just in one big piece, gone sideways.
And now, fortunately for us,
yes,
the direction of the wind pushed them back into the woods.
Away from the house.
Not toward the house.
Yeah, that was what I was worried about. It was funny because the tree that I was really worried about was the one in the front yard, that big oak tree.
Yeah. So they had one big tree in the front that if it had gone over,
it would have
sliced the house
in half. It was that big.
Right down the middle, or landed right on us in the bedroom.
Yeah, yeah.
But it didn't. It had a fairly narrow canopy, and that may be part of what saved it. I think
that's what saved it. It did. And I guess what had happened is when they built the house, they probably just took out all the trees around it, and it had obviously been very compact in the wooded area, and so it didn't have this large canopy that could really be the wind could get in there and just really knock it over.
Yeah.
But still, the fact that it was on that corner of our driveway in the street, the root system obviously had been compromised on two sides. So we're really, really lucky. And then what was funny is that, 3 days later, it got hit by lightning. We had a very bad set of thunderstorms come through a couple of days after Fran. And it took out, you could see where the lightning went down the trunk of the tree.
Yeah.
Took out everybody's cable.
Which cable got restored pretty quick when the power came back.
Yeah.
And the arborists that we consulted all said, well, it's not like we consulted 50 arborists. I think we made talk to 2. They said that tree is dead.
Yeah.
That tree is not going to live. It's still fine
still
today.
There, yeah, still there today.
That's
at least the last time we looked.
25 years?
No, that's only
96, so 22 years.
22. Yeah, so it's pretty robust. But so back to
across the street.
Across the street, unfortunately, they had another
stand
houses.
Of trees behind everybody, a narrower band of woods, but behind everybody's house.
Yeah, a couple of the houses across the street from us did get trees onto their roof.
Many of them did.
Yeah. And of course they were all over the road, and luckily a lot of people had chainsaws back then. And I
think they still do.
They still do. Yes, but I'm just saying they had them, and people were going out around the neighborhood and anywhere in the street. They were taking them down and helping neighbors, pick up stuff.
Our dead end street ending in a cul-de-sac was completely blocked by probably 4 or 5 trees. Mm-hmm. And again, the neighbors were out there. By the time we stuck our noses out the window, they were already out there sawing down the trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but no, we slept right through it, and I'm glad we did, because the stories from our neighbors of huddling in their kitchens downstairs, just scared out of their minds because the wind was so loud. We're like,
we didn't hear it.
Didn't hear a thing. Sleeping right away.
That doesn't make us smart or brave.
No, it just made us really tired that night, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. I can't explain it. And that was that was when our neighbor across the street happened to know some people up in Virginia where she used to live that were in the tree business. And they came down. Remember those two guys that were camping out in the woods behind her house?
Oh, yeah, I do
for
now.
like a week or so.
Yeah, those
guys made good money because it was like a cash business. I mean, they had
climbing equipment, and so
so and for a very decent price, they were not gouging. I got to give them credit.
Yeah, and then that's right. They set up a tent in the woods behind our house.
Behind our house,
I think we gave them a hose or something.
Yeah,
they didn't really want anything.
No, they were quite happy just to sit out there in the woods. But they were making a boatload of money.
I'm hearing the Deliverance theme behind me right now, but that's not for any real reason. Just
no, no, they were really nice.
Yeah.
And once again, didn't gouge, and that was important because there was plenty of people that were gouging. So
how long did we stay stuck in our neighborhood?
I think it was only for really a day or two because they pretty much got the roads cleaned off right away that morning.
Lean into your microphone as opposed to away. There you go.
So I don't remember it being more than a day or two that we were actually stuck per se. And of course, we were able, if we wanted to walk to the store. I think the Harris Teeter was open maybe not.
That'd be a long walk.
No, that was the Food Lion. We've done it before. Yeah, it would have been the Food Lion that is now a Walmart food store that I think we would have gone to back then.
So do you remember how quickly, well, first of all, leading up to it, and today, Tuesday, everyone's noticing that the bread's all gone.
Milk, all that is gone at the grocery store. Water, bottled water, all that's gone. So
the delivery trucks will still come.
Right. See, that's
Wednesday,
the thing.
Thursday.
Right. And so, I tell people the best time, like we saw a line for gas all day today, really, at the BP station there on Davis Drive in Morrisville. But
there was a little line for gas at the BP station at Harrison, just south of I-40.
Yeah.
But then I drove south on Harrison and went by a cluster of other stations, and there was almost nobody in the stations.
It's funny. But really the trick is to go out in the mid-evening, so along about 8, 9 o'clock. Go to the store, go to the gas station. You're not going to see the lines. The shelves, it just depends on when the delivery truck comes. But that's the thing about right now is the delivery trucks are going to keep coming. And I'm sure they've already ordered extra.
Yeah.
But the problem is going to come.
They may actually have food for for a while because everyone's already bought everything they could.
Right. But
I was in the Harris Teeter. The one thing many things, but the one thing I was looking for was bananas. And over the PA system, produce, please pick up the load of bananas and distribute them. They didn't do that before I had to leave.
Yeah, and I was.
So yes, I have no bananas.
Well, and I tried. Went to the other Harris Teeter on Davis, and they didn't have any bananas either. So no bananas, no bread, no water.
But I did get a big thing of raisins and a whole bunch of nuts. And
so we'll be fine. And I got creative because all the bread was gone. So I happened to notice that in the dairy case, there was some stacks of English muffins that were refrigerated. So, and nobody had seen them. They were all still nice and snug there, plenty of them. But everybody's used to walking over to the bread aisle and getting all that stuff. So I grabbed that. And then because all the water was gone, I just bought gallon jugs of tea. Because if you don't want the tea, throw the tea out. You get water in them. Doesn't matter.
Did you get sweet tea?
I did get sweet tea.
Oh, all right.
I know.
Sweet tea.
I hope it's good. We'll see.
One of the questions I always ask about tea.
Yes, I know.
The unsweet tea.
Yes. How do they get the sweet out?
How do they get the sugar out?
Yeah.
It's like a desalination process.
Yeah. You've been in the South long enough
why
now.
Why would anybody want to do that?
I know. Boggles the mind. But so the good thing for us is that we have a gas stove and a gas water heater. And there's a much less chance of the gas lines being hit because they're all underground.
Right. Same deal for water in areas that have city water.
Yeah, and I
Raleigh, Cary, they have big water towers, tanks. well
Yes.
up above ground, so it's a gravity feed. So they need to pump the water up, but they've got days of water up in them.
Yeah.
And they probably have
So by the time
generators for the pumps.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure they do, especially here in Cary.
But if you got a well,
yeah.
then
one of the many reasons I don't want to have a property with well on it.
yeah,
It's just
you have two problems. One is your power will go out.
yes.
And we are pretty likely to have power outages.
Yeah. That I'm expecting.
Because of all the trees that fall down and fall
Yeah.
on power lines.
Yeah.
And so if you got a well, you're going to lose the power, and the groundwater could be contaminated for a while. Mm-hmm. Could be. I'm not a water expert.
Well, and with wells too, and when you have a very dry summer or even a dry winter, actually, I've heard of people that are pumping up mud at some point. So I don't.
But they're going to get plenty of water.
In fact, I ordered. By the way, I ordered a rain barrel, a 50-gallon rain barrel.
To do what?
To catch rain outside here.
And do what with? Flush the toilets?
Yeah.
Wash the cats?
Wash the cats, yeah. No, like flushing the toilets or, watering flowers and things like that because it has a spigot on it.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah. Looks good on paper. Let's see what happens.
It just sits open on the top, or do you funnel water?
Funnel it. Yeah, it has a screen, and you've got a special elbow that you can put on your on the gutter system that just puts it right into the barrel.
The gutter's right down on the ground. It's going to be too low.
Yeah, that's how you got to cut it and put a little elbow thing on it.
You bumped your microwave.
Yeah, I know I did.
Turn the mic back.
Right here.
There you go.
Yeah, look it up.
Okay. You're gonna saw into the gutters.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, it's your house.
That's right.
I just live here.
That's right. Now you got it. So, and we've got 2 generators, right?
We do. We got one old one. It's 20 years old. Mm-hmm. They're both Hondas. They're both quiet.
Yep.
It is literally a generator in that it does not regulate the line frequency or the power very well.
Right.
And the last time I started it was last summer, I suppose. Mm-hmm. So I put a little gas in it. Boom, started right up. Didn't expect that. And I ran it for a little bit. I always have the gas drained out. Mm-hmm. And ran it for a little bit to get the oil warm enough to pour the oil out and then change the oil.
Okay.
And then I have a newer one, 2,000 watt, that has got an alternator and a inverter. So you get good, clean, regulated power out of that.
I didn't realize that.
Yep. And that one has been very reliable, but it always takes a bunch of pulls to get the gas from the tank into the carburetor. Mm-hmm. And it takes about 12. And so when I'm at about 9, I'm thinking, oh, no, this isn't going to start. 10, bum, 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 bum. 11, and then it purrs like a kitten. So,
well, I hope we don't have to use it, but we might.
Filled up 4 5-gallon cans.
That should do it.
That was my job yesterday. Now my back hurts from lugging all that stuff around.
Yeah. Oh, and back to the fact that we've got a gas stove, that means that we had to buy things that I could cook on the stove.
Yeah.
So,
Soups.
Stews, soups. We can have a spaghetti with meat sauce. We can have tuna casserole, which I've got all the stuff ready for that.
And we can have hot showers.
And we can have hot showers, which I don't know if we're going to really care for if the power's out because it's going to be so stinking hot.
Well, we can still have showers, cool showers.
Right, we can have a cool shower. Will be nice.
These generators are not enough to run the air conditioning, so.
No. But we have several fans that it'll be nice to have.
Be handy.
And then we got batteries. We did, this was back when it was going to snow or ice. This past winter, we did a whole inventory of batteries.
Okay, that was when. Okay. Thought maybe it was Matthew, but it was not really coming this way.
No, I believe that we did the inventory in the wintertime.
Yeah.
We didn't
kind of short on C-cells, but we don't have very many things that run on C-cells.
Right.
C-cells.
Yeah.
So, Fran, back to Fran again. Let's see. we had a generator back then. Yeah, this generator was I got that about Fran time. So we could turn on TV for a little bit. TV stations were still on the air. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that this time is going to be different for people, because very few people receive TV over the air. And if your cable is out, if you've got a generator, if your power is out, likely your cable is out. So you'll want to get.
You think? Well, I guess I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You'll want to get an antenna, even if you haven't done the cord cutter thing and gotten an antenna before. You'll want to get an antenna now to be able to get the over-the-air signals. Yep. And if it's been a really long time since you've picked up stuff over the air, you will be surprised to find out
how many channels.
But Channel 5 is not on Channel 5 anymore. Channel 11 is still on Channel 11. Channel 17 is not on Channel 17. They all switched their actual channels a long time ago when things went digital. Most of the TV stations went from VHF to UHF or swap channels around.
But the thing you'll probably have to do with your TV is have it relearn where all of the channels are. It'll do it on its own. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah. But it takes a little while.
If what you're used to is on your cable, Time Warner has never aligned TV stations with their cable channels anyway. Right.
Yeah.
They've been asses about that because they could. There's no reason why the cable Channel 5 couldn't be TV Channel 5, but it's not. At least it's not. It isn't in my experience, but now that's getting pretty old because we cord cut
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, many years ago.
Yeah.
So, you have to. There's a thing in your TV set that will say learn what the channels are. You got to tell it that's the over-the-air antenna, not the cable antenna, and it'll go learn what TV signals it can get. And now over the air, all the stations have 3, 4, 5 channels associated with them, with a lot of stuff on. It's all crap, but it's all there.
Well, it's not. It's
you like your Me TV.
I like Me TV, and I like the fact that we get PBS.
That's true. We have YouTube TV, Netflix and Prime, and we buy the CBS package, the expensive CBS package for no commercials,
right?
And the expensive YouTube package for no commercials,
right? But it's missing PBS. It's missing the Weather Channel,
right? Those two things are not on. Many things are not on YouTube TV, so don't know why. They couldn't work a deal,
right?
I guess.
Yep, it's all about money.
So we get PBS over the air. We don't get no Weather Channel at all. That's the one thing that you miss.
I really miss it.
And whenever we go to a hotel,
that is what I watch is the Weather Channel
continuously. I remember when the Weather Channel used to actually broadcast the weather.
Yeah, all the time.
Not anymore.
They didn't have any made-for-TV content at that point. It was strictly weather all the time. And when they weren't, the weather person wasn't on camera, it was just rolling all the temperatures and forecasts for all the cities across the U.S. It was kind of like when HBO...
Here's your local forecast.
Right. Yeah, or here's, they just ping back and forth between, northeast, southwest. Yeah. But there wasn't any content like Ice Road Truckers or Highway from Hell.
Now, if you want to know what the weather is, forget it, because they're spend about a half hour a day doing a weather show. It's on the crawl
banner.
Well, yeah, but they don't have a guy standing up in front of the map very often.
No.
So, get yourself one of those little antennas, and they look like a little flat piece of
plastic.
Piece of plastic. In most places around town, you're going to get a good enough signal with it indoors. Some places it's going to be dicey.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll become a cord cutter afterwards.
Although certainly allowed us to do it.
We're spending nearly as much between the YouTube, the CBS, the Netflix.
That was inevitable. That was going to happen.
Yeah, they're getting their money out of us.
Yeah.
Back to Fran. We could get out of the neighborhood.
Now back then, I couldn't work from home.
The two things that most people will encounter, your home is not going to get blown away.
Not like a tornado blown away.
No. Category 5 hurricane can blow houses down. Category 4 hurricane can cause damage, physical structural damage.
Yeah.
But a Category 3, not so much, and you're not going to see that.
No,
So-
I mean, the only thing you're going to see is if trees fall onto your house
Yep.
or you get flooding.
Yeah, so it is trees falling and flooding, and then trees cause physical damage. They land on a car or a house, and
Block the roads.
and they knock out the power.
Yep.
And even if you're, like, we're in a neighborhood that has underground power, but not too many blocks away, it
There's
comes in on
the
a
street.
feeder.
Yeah. Down Cary Parkway.
Yeah, I don't know which. There's 2 feeders that come in above ground, and I don't know which one comes here. Don't know. Doesn't matter to the audience. I don't care.
But, we had power back within 24 hours, I think.
Yeah, but our
Less.
neighbors just down the road, down Cary Parkway a little
Yeah.
bit.
A week? Was it a week or
Yeah,
2?
they were out for a week. In fact, when our power came back on, and we had glorious air conditioning.
Yes.
They came over and stayed with us for several days. Power was out where I worked, which was just north of downtown Raleigh. We saw the power crews all over the place all the time. I took a generator down there because we didn't need it at home anymore,
Yeah.
and we're able to boot up some of the stuff. It couldn't really work,
Yeah.
and so what what I learned from that was that life goes on, and this is not a place you evacuate from. This is still a place people evacuate to,
Yes. Yeah.
and because it's reasonable drive from the coast. Well, folks will be evacuating. I understand that there's a high school in Knightdale that is a major evacuation center. At least they said for 400 some people. Well, there's going to be a lot more people evacuating than 400.
Yes.
There's probably going to be other shelters that open up. And those people will arrive, and then the storm will arrive, and power will go out. They'll kind of wonder. But they'll be in safe structures. And they'll have, the Red Cross will be there with food and stuff.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So it's a bare minimum, but it takes you out of danger.
yeah.
Yeah.
So more people were getting pressure from their relatives way out of the area. Chicago, Orlando, saying,
Yeah,
get out now.
Yeah. Well, the
From
governor
here.
finally said get out
To the
all
coast.
the barrier islands.
To the coast.
Yeah, to all the barrier islands.
And that's something interesting. Virginia has mandatory coast-wide evacuation. South Carolina has mandatory coast-wide evacuation. North Carolina, it's area
Just
by area.
Okay, just barrier islands at the moment. Go look at.
I don't think Wilmington has got a mandatory evacuation, but no, it's not just the islands. It's part of the coast.
Okay.
So that microphone is not going to bite you. Lean in. There you go.
I'm not used to this.
I know. I'm trying to
Yeah.
make you a full-fledged podcaster.
And back then, you couldn't. People weren't working from home yet because that was still the late '90s.
Yeah.
So you didn't have that option. So you
Were
could
you at-
actually get
were
a
you
day
at
off.
NetApp at
I was
that
at
point?
SAS at that point.
Oh, so you had it easy. We're down the road from SAS.
Right. And I can't remember. I'm assuming they probably had power back and that wasn't an issue. I don't remember being out of work for any period of time, but it could have been a day or so.
Yeah. And my commute was from Harrison Avenue down Wade
Downtown.
to and literally all Wade Avenue
Which
to just about Capitol. And there was debris, but they got Wade Avenue open right away. And you could, there was leaves and branches and stuff piled up on the side.
and we're very close to the highway. We're only about as the crow flies, not even a mile. But so all we have to do is get up Weston and Harrison, and those will be cleared out very quickly.
Yeah. Flooding is going to be an issue for a lot of people.
Not us.
We're on a hill.
We're on a hill.
Kind of planned that.
Top, yeah, we planned that. We're at the very top of a hill. Everything's
It's not
downhill from us.
Not a giant hill. It's not a mountain.
No, but it is a higher point in Cary than most places.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about it. But in order for me to commute to work,
To get
I go
anywhere, you're going to
through
go through low spots.
low spots in Morrisville, absolutely.
Now, I don't remember running into any flooding in any of the directions I had to go. But on roads nearby, Crabtree Creek goes under some roads, and it floods when someone sneezes hard nearby.
Yeah, all you got to do is blow your nose and it floods. So you can bet that the mall, Crabtree Mall, is going to be underwater for sure.
Yeah, again.
Yeah, not like they haven't figured that one out yet. So there'll be tons of places that are going to be underwater. Wake Forest Road, there's a creek that runs through there. Out here on Evans, as you're heading towards Aviation, is going to be flooded where Crabtree Creek comes underneath. That's always flooded.
Yeah, that's being really local specific, and we're trying to talk to people all over the region. If you're near the Neuse River, roads are going to get flooded. Major roads will be flooded for a while.
Well, remember when we tried, I forget which hurricane it was that came through, that we had to postpone or cancel our beach trip 2 years ago. And I went online because we had insurance and I needed to get some evidence that I couldn't get there. And it was amazing the number of roads, 10, 20 miles inland, the number of road closures.
Sure.
You couldn't get to the coast.
Low-lying area.
Yeah.
Where the difference between the water levels and the roads are, measured in just a few feet.
So it just depends on where you are, but there's plenty of places that, unfortunately, a lot of eastern North Carolina, east of I-95 is where they just get really bad flooding.
Well, yeah, outside of our area, get to Rocky Mount, Tarboro, Princeville.
Oh, Princeville.
Those places, things will be much worse. One thing occurs to me to say is that if you watch the TV news, you're going to see the worst of the worst. And if that's your reference point, you will think, yeah, things are going to be really bad. They will be really bad for some people in some areas.
They will.
They will be inconvenient for most people in most areas.
Right.
And for most people around here, about the worst thing that will happen is a tree could fall on your house or your car.
Yeah.
Or a tree could fall on your road and you could be blocked in and you don't have a neighbor with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's any neighborhoods that don't have neighbors with chainsaws. One of the most wonderful things that happen is people really pitch in.
Oh, they do. Yeah, I remember that very clearly. Is that it was great in a way. Because
did you buy a chainsaw?
I did. Remember?
Did we ever use it?
We did, because we went and helped some of our ham radio friends with it. Oh gosh, what is his name? Oh, I can't remember now. But we did. We helped a couple of people.
Okay, and then it sat.
Right.
For
and then we ended up selling it to Jeff.
Oh, okay. Well, so we got a problem to call Jeff.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Jeff's on the hook for
anything else we learned from Fran that Florence is going to be worse.
That's what they're saying. Worse as it hits the coast in terms of the wind speed.
Yeah, and potentially worse here.
That's one of those things that remains to be seen.
We don't know which way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Watching the news tonight, they were saying that it's 400 miles across.
Yeah.
So a diameter of about 200 miles. At the 200-mile point, it's not a hurricane at that point, but it's windy.
It's windy and it rains a lot.
Which means that with landfall happening late on Friday, we're about 120, 130 miles from where landfall will likely be. And so if the extent of the hurricane is 200 miles, we'll start feeling it here before landfall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're predicting winds on Friday in the 20 to starting Thursday, yeah. And then Friday, winds in this area
are going to be constant
30 to 40.
Which that's pretty good. I mean,
that's very windy.
That's windy. And the problem is that if it's dumping a lot of rain, that's where your trees start to fall, is because the ground gets so soaked up that those root systems, I mean, they really aren't, it's kind of hard to tell you. So your root systems, some of them are only this deep. And so once all this soil gets very saturated, any wind just knocks the thing right over. It's just amazing. I never understood or never even thought about what a root system on a tree looked like until Fran. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow. I mean, because it was so far across the roots on the hardwood trees. The pine trees.
We learned about them because so many trees got knocked over. We saw the giant root balls.
Oh, yeah. And they weren't that thick.
A couple inches deep in 4, 5, 6 feet in radius.
So the pine trees don't tend to have a problem with hurricane-type winds because they have a big taproot.
They snap.
They snap, and they're more likely to snap during like a ice storm is when you really see them start to snap. Not so much in the wind, unless it's really high wind. In a hurricane, you won't see them fall down.
Yeah,
because their tap roots are too far in the ground. They're just going to stay put. But oak trees, up and over.
So watch out for the areas that are flooded. You know what they always say is don't drive into a flood.
Yeah.
Especially if the water's moving.
Turn around, don't drown. It's absolutely true. It doesn't take much to pick the car up and take it down the river.
Yeah. I got 4-wheel drive. I can drive through anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I can drive. I'm from up north. I can drive in snow and ice. I can't stop, but I can move.
Right. you can go forward or sideways, but you can't stop. So yeah, really the flooding is the biggest problem I think that we're going to see in this area.
Yep. Okay. Moving on. Hurricane Floyd.
I don't remember a lot about Floyd. That was in 1999. We were still there. I don't think we
felt nothing.
We didn't really feel much of anything. No.
Yeah. It was Category 1.
Wow. It was still pretty powerful.
Yeah, but it hugged the coast. Mm-hmm. Barely went inland.
Yeah, it was kind of tight at that point.
Yep. So it never went very far inland at all. It came in about Wilmington, back out up in Virginia. It went up and hit the New England area.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it just went right along the coast there.
Yep.
Look at that, all the way up to Nova Scotia.
Yep. Huh. No hurricane has ever made it to Chicago.
Are you
even
sure?
Detroit. Well, no, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It looks like they could, but I think that they would have, with going over land that much, they'd just have petered out.
Sure.
I don't remember even tropical storm or remnants of anything getting up there.
Huh.
It was a
totally
foreign concept to me. What's this one? Isabel. Isabel also didn't have very much effect on. I'm going to do something I almost never do.
Bless you.
Sneeze on the air. For some reason, that never happens to me. Until now. Hurricane Isabel made landfall
on the
south end of the Outer Banks.
Yeah.
And crossed some of the eastern counties, and then on up. It was Category 2 as it came inland, and then down to Category 1 still as it crossed the Virginia state line. No effects of it in the Triangle area.
No.
But the thing that I know about it is that I went as part of the ham radio deal. The eastern part of the state communications were pretty badly down. Mm-hmm. This was 2003. Cell phones and internet were a thing, but most of it was out in a lot of the eastern part of the state. Mm-hmm. And so I volunteered in our emergency group to go out to Perquimans County, Hertford in particular. They had a tower. I think I might have, did I stick a picture of it up here? I foolishly didn't save the location of the picture. There it is.
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah, this was the picture that they of the tower that had all of their emergency management stuff on it. Police, fire,
Yeah.
And it fell right over. There's one of the guys doing the ham radio stuff. Oh, there we go. The wide picture of it. So that had all of the MCOM on it. So they had a 911 center, and it was in a little bank building. I'll have a picture here in a moment. Oh, this is and for anybody who does the radio stuff. Yeah, this is just so sad looking.
That is sad.
Tower lying down on the ground. They had a emergency or a 911 center. I know I've got a picture of it here someplace. I have lost it. It was in, there it is, in former little bank building. And they had walkie-talkies and stuff inside, but they didn't have any actual two-way radio stuff in there that they could use. They didn't have any antennas outside. So they had this one sad little satellite thing for the statewide MCOM for satellite. And they could talk to Raleigh on that, but they couldn't talk to their police cars down the street. So being the resourceful ham radio guy that I am, my radios were jeeped to be able to talk on the police frequencies at the time. I can't do that anymore because they've all moved up to digital stuff.
Yeah.
But I set up my radio in there and stuck a little magnet-mounted antenna up on top of their satellite antenna. And the dispatcher was very impressed that now he could talk to the police cars around town. He couldn't talk to them deep out into the county because I didn't have the tall tower. No, there's the dispatcher. I think I got him talking on my little walkie-talkie. Yeah. No, not there anyway. So he was very impressed, and we had hams at the fire departments, and so we could communicate between the police dispatcher. Some of the phone systems work, and not all, but some phone systems, and the fire department. That's what we were mostly there for. And I spent the weekend there, 3 or 4 days. And the big thing I helped was that they had 2 guys that worked for the technical side of their communications. And instead of trying to do all that stuff that I was doing, they got out and surveyed towers and found some towers and some antennas on them that they could go commandeer for the emergency and then pick up all their equipment from the tower that fell over. The building wasn't destroyed. Their equipment was good. Hauled them to some other tower and get them back on the air. So that was what I did.
Yeah.
Out in that county, once again, power out, flooding, trees, and not widespread wind damage. And that was a whole lot closer to the coast. So
yeah,
couldn't buy gas within about 75 miles.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned from Isabel. Let's see.
Tank up early and often.
Yeah. Hurricane Charlie.
Yeah.
Another one that hugged the coast. It went across Florida and then hugged the coast across South Carolina, North Carolina, touched a little of Virginia, and went up into New England, but pretty much petered out back there. And the only reason I'm even bringing that up is because I went down to Wilmington to do some video for the ham radio show that I was doing back then, and was going to go up to Kinston, where the eastern branch of the emergency management is, and needed to stay someplace overnight. So I got a hotel room in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and that night, Hurricane Charlie went right over my head as a tropical storm. Wasn't a hurricane then anymore. I don't even think power went out.
Yeah.
I think I had power all night, watching TV, went to sleep, had another hurricane go over while I was asleep. So I have technically ridden out two. Yeah. Fran was transitioning from a hurricane and Charlie was not a hurricane
Yeah.
at that time. I mean, it was very windy. And the next day, there weren't even trees down all over the place. Out there was litter, branches, leaves all over the place,
Yeah.
but trees had not gotten knocked down like crazy. There might have been flooding, but nothing that prevented me from getting where I was going. Mm-hmm. And I went over to the Eastern Branch, talked to the hams over there. So let's see. This is what Florence is kind of looking like right now. Still way out in the Atlantic, looking like it will be a. I'm losing the reference here on what's what on this. Oh well, a hurricane as it approaches the coast, still a hurricane, then a tropical storm.
Right.
By 2 p.m. Saturday, a little bit south of Raleigh, and then just a tropical depression by 2 p.m. Sunday. And out in the western part of the state. So, again, we start feeling it, I don't know, Thursday, late Thursday.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm expecting.
Wouldn't be too surprised. It feels pretty windy and starts to get a little rainy.
Yeah.
Probably rain about all day Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Be pretty windy. Rain all day Saturday. Be very windy. Mm-hmm. And then slowly clear up again.
Yeah.
And if we've lost power, it's going to be in the 80s and humid next week, so it's going to be uncomfortable until they get it back on.
Yeah. Well,
we'll cross our fingers for another 24 hours.
Yeah.
Instead of a week.
Yeah.
Okay. That's our experience. I guess the thing is, it's not the end of the world here. If it ended up being like way stronger, moving fast across land, we could get a Category 1 or a Category 2 this far inland, but it's not going to be the case for Florence. No. Yeah. Probably not. Things could change. It's Tuesday.
Never know. It's Tuesday. Yeah, and that's the thing is that it really can change hour to hour. So, like we had to make a call on something at work. That we're bringing customers in from all across the U.S. and just say
a conference that would have ended
on Thursday afternoon, but that was just cutting it way too close.
Yeah.
So,
well, you had people that look at the word hurricane,
and freak out
because they have no more experience than I did when I lived in Chicago.
Right. Yeah. So unless you've been here,
and all of the people that we would be putting on the conference, all of your local team, would be busy making hurricane preparations or not wanting to be at work.
Yeah, when I like somebody posted the comment that waiting for a hurricane is like waiting for a turtle to attack. It's just this slow motion thing that you don't know where it's going to end up.
Ninja turtle.
A ninja turtle, yeah.
Because when it gets here,
yeah,
it's going to tear you a new one.
But I mean, the severity of it can vary all over the place, just depending where you are in its path. So we just don't know. But we know we're going to get a lot of rain. We know we're going to get wind. We just don't know to what amount.
Some other things that we can speculate about is that your phone service could very well keep working, your cell phone service. Mm-hmm. Does anyone out there still have a landline? Those will probably keep on going. The cell sites all have
generator.
Yeah, big banks of batteries, and most of them have a big generator. Mm-hmm. And the batteries can run them for about a day. The generators can run them for several days, up to a week. And I have a friend whose job it is to go refuel and do a little minor repair on cell sites. Mm-hmm. And he's been to Texas, he's been to Puerto Rico, he's been down to Florida, bringing in fuel, refueling the generators, getting them, keeping the cell sites on the air. They will do that if they can get there.
Right. The cell sites for making phone calls
could become overloaded, and for using them for data could become overloaded.
Yeah.
Because they're not designed for everybody wanting to use them all at once.
Right. So if you lose power and you've lost your internet.
Yeah, you're probably not going to be streaming Netflix over your phone.
Yeah.
Even if you have an unlimited plan.
No.
Probably not going to work very well.
No.
One thing that does tend to get through are texts. Because
Yes.
they use the very thin amount of the system. So if you know somebody that's...
Well, I remember when you're talking about texting, remember during the eclipse when you were out in Wyoming?
Yeah, we were in Wyoming.
And I was down in South Carolina. We were trying to text each other.
It was spotty, but the cell coverage was spotty.
Yeah, because we were both in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. The other thing I will recommend, and you have to go get a couple of these.
Radio Shack.
There are no more Radio Shacks. Radio Shacks are gone. This is a little, what they call FRS, Family Radio Service Radio walkie-talkie. They've got 14 channels. Most of them come with another 8 channels that are in a different radio service that used to make felons out of all of us when we use them, but not anymore. And they're good for half mile to a mile. Can you hear the cat screaming? If you look at the package is going to say up to 35 miles. That is...
You're standing on Everest.
Yeah. And the other guy you're talking to is also standing on top of a mountain. Here in real life, you can squeeze 2 miles, but it's very dicey at that point.
Yeah.
1 mile, not too bad. A half mile, pretty solid. You're sharing it with everybody else, but within the 14 channels that are available, probably.
Nobody uses those.
Well, yeah, nobody does.
You know, when we're out skiing, remember how we used to hear a lot of people on the radios? And then with cell phones, that just went away.
Yep.
So we have, free and clear channels for the most part when we're out skiing.
Yes. So who would you be able to talk to? Well, of course, your family. Maybe some other people in the neighborhood. That would be cool if, folks around the neighborhood, they just, want to, are you okay? Are you okay? I got a generator here that's running if you need to come charge your phone. That would be a good way to communicate if everything is gone. Mm-hmm. But it's handy for, talking to your family. And these things come in blister packs for $25 for 2. Mm-hmm. For some of the cheap ones. So, FRS, Family Radio Service. If you've got a ham radio operator in your neighborhood, they may be the only people that can get a communications out in any distance. Mm-hmm. If your neighborhood association has prohibited them from putting up an antenna, forget it. They're out of business too.
It's a whole nother episode.
Yep. I don't know if we'll ever do that one. The ham radio shows, we do it all the time, but the general public, they don't care. I need to mea culpa on a couple of things from previous program before I close out here. Okay. I'll put it at the end so no one hears it. 1986 was not a presidential election. I was talking about my motorcycle trip and when I was reading the newspapers trying to learn about the political landscape, and I was thinking it was a presidential election. It was a typical congressional election, and there was a lot of political coverage, but it was not a presidential election. For some reason, I thought it was.
Okay.
And in that same show, I was not bemoaning the dearth of conservative comedians, but I was noting that there were not very many of them. Well, you got the guys on the late night shows. You got Colbert, Seth Meyers, John Oliver,
Saturday Night Live,
Trevor Noah, Saturday Night Live. They all are big into Trump bashing, and there's no equivalent.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, comedy is all. Yeah. So,
one of our fans put a note on YouTube, in the YouTube comments, saying that no, there's a lot of conservative comedians. They don't have those big time nightly shows. Like, the number one that anyone can mention right now is Tim Allen, that Last Man Standing guy.
Yeah.
And there was controversy when that show was canceled by ABC. Mm-hmm. Some people thought it was because he was conservative. So he's picked up by Fox, not Fox News. Fox,
Media.
It's the same ownership, but the Fox TV channel has not emphasized conservative stuff. But he gets picked up there anyway. So, and that show is actually sort of a regurgitation of All in the Family, Archie Bunker. Very much.
Somewhat, yeah.
Very much. I mean, you got Tim. He's the Archie. You got his wife, the liberal woman. She's not as ditzy as Edith, but
right.
But you got the meathead.
Yes, that's true. Now to think about it, yeah.
So it's got a lot of similarities. Anyway, so that show is back, but Dennis Miller is probably the best known literal comedian, guy who does stand up stuff. But I don't know that he or any of them do a lot of
well, remember, we don't
really
have cable.
Conservative comedy.
We don't have cable, so we're not seeing any of that.
Yeah.
At least I'm not.
And then one of the other people and groups that he was talking about were the Redneck Comedy Tour. Jeff Foxworthy and Larry the Cable Guy and a couple other guys.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember because I really enjoyed watching those guys, and I didn't get a strong political component out of them.
Well, no, not at that time. Not in their original. No, they stayed away from politics for the most part. I don't ever remember anything political per se coming out of those shows. Now, I haven't, of course, seen any of them recently, so they could have turned that way, but not back then, no.
Yeah. So, there are some. They really haven't got the mainstream media attention because they're conservative, and of course, the mainstream media is very liberal, and you're being deliberately ignored. It's a conspiracy. One I'm happy to support because I enjoy watching Colbert trash Trump night after night. He was doing that before the election, so this stuff is not effective in swaying the mood of the country. Just because all of these late night shows and comedians and stuff are on TV doesn't mean the mood of the country gets swayed, because it didn't work.
No.
Apparently.
No, it didn't work.
It didn't work.
No.
Lulled us into a false sense of security.
That it did.
Or something. Okay, I think...
are we done?
I think we can be done and go watch TV while we still have power.
Binge watching, yeah.
What are we going to watch tonight? Got the Jack Ryan we started to watch.
I like Jack Ryan. You didn't really watch RGB.
I fell asleep.
RBG, excuse me.
RBG.
Notorious
the
RBG.
Bader Ginsburg
that was an
CNN show.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of in and out.
You were mostly out,
day.
trust me. I was constantly poking you because you kept snoring. But no, that was an amazing show. I'm glad somebody did that.
I think it'll still be too late. I mean, the parts I caught, I think she's an awesome person, but I got the impression that the program itself was very much propaganda.
Why? Well,
it wasn't balanced. It was, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's superhero.
Well,
which to me, she is.
Okay, so, but in the 6 times that she's gone before the Supreme Court, prior to when she was on the Supreme Court, she won 5 of those cases. Yeah, she's Superwoman.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see, they got you.
It's a numbers game. 5 out of 6 times.
Was it a balanced program? Did it show
it was about
foibles?
Her. Well, I mean, yes, in a way it did, because she is very reserved. She doesn't have a lot to say. She doesn't do a lot of, she's just not mean, her personality is very subdued, but she has very strong opinions. She's very much a thinking person. So, and that was made very clear, and she owns up to it. That's who she is. It's okay.
Yeah. I don't know whether I wish Supreme Court justices would be more out in public more of the time or not.
I don't think so.
I think we're probably better off with them.
I think we're better off that they do keep a low profile, but I do like getting to know their history in terms of, in her case, going before the Supreme Court 6 times and winning 5, and understanding what those cases were about. I think that's something we should all be aware of. But, there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, other than before a confirmation hearing, call your senator and say, don't. But
don't we get to vote for the justices?
No. Sorry.
No. We do, but it's indirect. And we don't think of it. Do you think, does Supreme Court justice cross your mind? You're chasing a cat.
Sure does this time.
Well, look at that.
Well, who I got? Is that a Duber? Hey,
yeah,
Duber.
Got a washy climb right up the back of your chair.
Yeah, that's my girl.
Washy woo.
Say, okay, what do you want? Is it snack time, huh? Is that what this is all about? Cat butt. Nice, Duber. Nice. Hey, whoop.
She looks huge on TV.
She does. Well, I think that's because she really is. We just keep thinking of her as a tiny kitten. You going to jump on your sister?
This is a blind cat.
This is a blind cat that's just going to free fall off the chair, and she doesn't really know where she's going.
There's nothing below her that's
both of
dangerous.
Her sisters are back there. Yeah, we've got Annie and Delicious. Yes, Miss Nut Nut.
Sadly, we can't hear you anymore.
That's Annie Nut Nut and Sarah D. Back there, she's going to jump right on top of them.
Oh, I can see him. Yeah, camera. I can't get a camera down there. Can I? Can I get a camera there? Not really.
No.
The microcam is not in range. That's cute, though.
It is. Hey, Duber. Oh, my gosh, I got a second one coming up. Oh, kids.
There's not enough room on the back of that chair for 2 cats.
No, look at that. She's hanging on, isn't she?
Can't. It's a little out of range of the camera. I don't have a cameraman back there.
Well, you can tell she's the thing is she's black, so she looks like she's fading into the chair there. Hey, Doob. What are you going to do now?
Pretty good.
Huh? What you going to do now?
It's the most popular part of the show. I haven't had cats climbing on the chairs for the show in this generation of shows, in this generation of cats.
Okay, none of that. Hey, stop it.
They're fighting.
God, those two like to get in each other's face.
Yeah, you guys are just going to have to go on the YouTube to the end of the show. We're at
Hey, Doob.
Have we really been going for an hour and 13 minutes?
Yes.
Apparently we have.
I would believe it. So it's time to wrap it up.
So yeah, if you're listening to the audio and you want to go check the YouTube, go in an hour and 13 minutes. You can see the cats. An hour and 10 minutes or so is where they got started.
There she is.
Growling at each other. Okay, let's wrap this up. Good luck with the hurricane wherever you are.
Yeah.
But this is not one of those places where you say, we're riding it out. You don't ride out a hurricane in Raleigh and Durham, the Triangle.
No.
It passes over. It can cause some damage.
Mm-hmm.
You might get a tree in your house or on your car. And I hope you don't. And if you're dumb enough, you'll get caught in a flood. If your house is susceptible, then that could be a bigger problem because most people, when they buy houses in the low-lying areas, they're not planning for this sort of thing.
Well, and what's funny is you hear people talk about, oh, well, I live in there's a 100-year floodplain. I'm like,
anymore, those are 10 years.
Anything.
Yep.
Means nothing anymore.
Okay, I'm going to play the music to take us out here. From the studio in the bonus room above the garage on the north side of Cary. All right, this has been episode 28, a weather episode, September 11th. We should do a moment of silence Well, we'll, as we shut the show down, Hurricane Virgin. We got here my wife, Cindy Pierce, a North Carolina native, who is proud to say that her husband, that's me, Gary Pierce, is a Midwesterner, not a
Yankee.
Not a Yankee. Okay. Well, end of the music. End of the show. Bye-bye.